Well, let's dig deeper into last night's results with the panel. Mercedes Schlapp joins us, Ford O'Connell, and Mica Mosbacher. Mercedes, let me start with you. I don't know that there were any surprises, but maybe Kasich did better than expected. Trump trounces in Florida, and Cruz still in there. What do you make of it all?
Well, I mean, it's clear that Trump is dominating this race. I think it's been a disappointment for Ted Cruz, especially in Missouri, coming so close. We still don't know if he's been able to pull that race out. But he has been on the number. With Ted Cruz, it's about gaining more delegates as he comes along. Obviously, for Kasich, my 12-year-old daughter said, "Mom, this is becoming more like a 2.5-man race," which is kind of true. You've got Trump and Cruz, which really have more of the mathematical possibility of getting to those delegate numbers of the 1,237, although it's still going to be tough for either of those two candidates to reach those numbers. But Kasich, really, I mean, he would have to break. He mathematically can't get there. So he's, I think, hoping for a contested convention. He's hoping to do well in states like Indiana and Pennsylvania. With that being said, for Cruz, he's hoping that these anti-Trump, these #NeverTrump people coalesce around him, because otherwise it will be Trump all the way to the convention.
And I guess, Mica, another way that the Cruz folks, and we want to point out to the audience, you are a Cruz supporter, sort of rationalized last night is if you look at North Carolina and Missouri and add in probably the votes he could have gotten from a Rubio, he could have won those. I would suspect that's the rationale right now.
Well, first let me say something. I was appalled today to hear Senator John Boehner call Ted Cruz Lucifer. We as Republicans cannot, yes, in the Washington Times, we as Republicans cannot swallow our own. This type of mindset is what has led to the two insurgents, Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, winning, and they are the last men standing. And I want to congratulate Trump on his wins last night.
Yeah, but tell us about your guy, though, Mica. How can your guy win from here? How can he make the math add up?
He is in a sand trap right now, but I see him hitting the ball squarely in the fairway in Utah. He's been endorsed by Senator Mike Lee there. In Wyoming, Platte County has endorsed him. And I think he has those do-or-die Republican voters there. Nikki Haley has endorsed him today, so he should pick up some Rubio.
The point is that Ted Cruz cannot make the math. He needs to win 79% of the remaining delegates. The best he can hope for is a contested convention, which right now is a 50-50 proposition.
You're saying forget about sand trap. He's in quicksand.
He's beyond quicksand. In fact, Bernie Sanders needs less of a percentage. He only needs 78. Ted Cruz needs 79. Now, we have 19 contests left and 6 a winner take all. I do agree with Mica that Ted Cruz is likely to win Utah, but you got to understand Trump is probably going to win if he wins Arizona next Tuesday 7 of the next 8 contests. He only needs 55% of the delegates to get to the magic number of 1237. Either Trump gets this outright or we are going to a contested convention. It's really that simple.
Ford, what do you make of the notion, though, that you've got Kasich, who won his home state? He did better than the polls suggested, but that's it. So you got a guy like that lingering around, and it feels like all of the de facto establishment candidates have all hung around 1 or 2 election days too long.
Well, look, here's the deal with John Kasich. He is mathematically eliminated. Mercedes is absolutely right. His goal is to block Donald Trump from getting to 1237. Ted Cruz is good in the plain states. He's good in the caucuses. He's not that great in the mid-Atlantic and in the Northeast. And John Kasich is betting that he can actually stop Donald Trump from actually getting to 50% in some of these New England states in the Northeast and the mid-Atlantic, like Maryland, Delaware, New York, Pennsylvania. Right. That's why John Kasich is there. It is to get this to a contested convention.
And I also want to update the audience. I think Marco Rubio dropped his opposition to Kasich being on the Pennsylvania ballot, and also Donald Trump tweeting just moments before we went on air that he won Missouri, although I think it's going to be a couple of weeks as they hash that out. But back to you, Mercedes, on all of this. So you think ultimately Ted Cruz was the loser last night, even though he had some good, close second-place finishes?
Well, I think it was a tougher night for Ted Cruz. I think he's trying to make his case that Rubio supporters, please come on board. You're already starting to see with several of the ex-Rubio supporters moving into the Cruz camp. And he's really has to make that argument. He will do well in those western states, especially those that are more libertarian-minded, which will be a natural fit for Ted Cruz. But it's still not enough if Donald Trump he's going to move forward in Arizona, where he has very solid support. You're talking about New York, New Jersey, very favorable to Donald Trump. He might fall short right before. He might not get to that magic number. Donald Trump might not be. And then it could end up in the contested convention, which is something that I think Republicans, many are thinking this might be the best solution. But for the most part, there's others who feel very uneasy about putting this in the hand of these delegates and the state party officials.
Later on, I want to let the audience know, later on in the show, we're going to explain exactly what the broker convention is. We'll have a couple of experts on that, and we'll also have a panel come and debate whether it's good or bad, because everyone on Twitter is telling me it would be a massive revolt. But nevertheless, Mica, this is where Ted Cruz is. It's going to have to be a marriage between Ted Cruz and the establishment, no matter what happens from here on out. And, I mean, would he get in bed with the establishment? Because that's his only chance right now.
Well, he's not going to sell his soul or change his principles to please the establishment, but the establishment only has two viable choices. So I've said before, they need to make peace with the candidate, and it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. So it's not over yet. We still have a little ways to go.
We do have a little ways to go for it, and, all the experts said last night, if Donald Trump didn't win Ohio and Florida, we were going all the way to a contested convention. Now, of course, Donald Trump is working on the notion that, hey, if I have the most votes, if I have the most delegates, if I've won the most states, let's do the right, smart, honorable thing. But the rules are the rules. Could those rules be changed?
Well, those rules could obviously be changed. Let's be honest with Donald Trump. The question is, does he get within 100 or does he get within 50? If he gets within a small margin, then he has a very persuasive argument to make. But if he doesn't, and let's just say Mica's guy shoots up the ladder and is only 100 delegates behind Trump, then in that case, you got to go to the contested convention. I do think basically a contested convention is like flying an airplane into a volcano. But heck, why let anything go according to plan? It hasn't yet this season.
You know what? In Hollywood, I've seen a couple of those things have a happy ending, Lena, that you landed through the smoke and the smog, and there goes Fido. He's alive and well, and you get him out right before the eruption. But I got a sense this would not play out to that particular script. On the Democratic side, Mercedes, huge night for Hillary Clinton. I mean, absolutely huge. It's hard to deny that she really beat Bernie in places where they didn't think she would beat him. And she won some large votes, and she got a lot more votes in Florida from the Hispanics than Donald Trump did.
That's right.
I wonder, and I'm going to talk about this also more in the show, but I just wonder if the GOP is sort of just taking her too lightly right now.
Oh, I don't think we should underestimate Hillary Clinton at all. She has the Clinton machinery behind her. Yes, she's unlikable. Yes, voters think they can't trust her. But when she's thinking that they're up against a Donald Trump where he would need to capture women voters. He would need to make sure that he's getting a lot of the crossover Reagan Democrats, but we're also talking about independents, millennials. This is where Hillary can make a strong play for the women vote, for the millennials, for the Latinos. This is an area where Donald Trump really does not have a lot of expertise on. In fact, in a lot of his rhetoric, it has caused, if you can say, negativity amongst these groups. And so he will need to really make a strong play for them and figure out a way to do this in a way that would work. So I think for Hillary Clinton, Republicans should be concerned because she is going to go in there with a very strong ground game as well.
Let me say one thing. Hillary is no